Okay. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Instant Movie Reviews with
Raina
and Drew. I'm Drew.
We're so happy that you're here with us today on this beautiful sunny day. It's quite the change from when we first started this channel and we were doing every video in the winter with the rain and the dark. Now we're trying to compete with sunlight. So
yeah, now we have to spend 5 minutes angling the camera before we start this so we don't have these weird rays bombarding us.
I always end up having a bigger head than Drew because of foreshortenings. I have like a pumpkin head and Drew has this nice chiseled cheekbones. We've actually had comments on that. Not people leaving comments on the video, but like my peers when they've watched at work and stuff like that, they've been like, Drew has a nicely shaped face. And I'm like, does that mean that I don't have a nicely shaped face? Like, you didn't say you guys, you're saying Drew.
So, what are we seeing today?
We are seeing 28 years later, which is not quite 28 years later, but it's getting close. It's pretty wild to me that we're seeing all these resurgences in the past few years of films that came out basically when I was in high school or just a little bit older. So we had Bloodlines from Final Destination.
14 years after the fact, yeah.
Saw 10.
Saw 10, yeah.
Scream. Scream's had a resurgence with the Scream films. So some of it feels like a money grab, and then some of it is surprisingly good. What are you expecting for this? Do you think it's going to be good?
Well, it's got a good critical review, but as you were just saying to me a few minutes ago, that's got a bit of a polarizing audience response to it so far. So it's Danny Boyle and Alex Garland, the director and writer of 28 Days Later. They sat out 28 weeks later. Personally, I preferred 28 weeks later. I remember I was only, 16 when the first one came out, and I remember seeing it and finding it to be a little bit slower. My tolerance for slow movies has gotten better as I've gotten older. I don't need to be super actiony all the time, but 28 weeks later gave me the faster paced sort of flavor of this movie that I was looking for. I have a feeling this one's going to go back to being a little bit slower.
So I didn't see them as a teenager. I wasn't super into zombie movies and stuff like that at the time. And I feel like there was just so much. Like, I feel like Resident Evil movies were out at that time. And there was just like a lot of content in that genre at that time. Plus Twilight started to come out. And anyway, I was just oversaturated. So I didn't really see it when it first came out. But when I started dating my now husband, it was one of the first films we watched together. When we watched it, I thought it was okay, but I was really bothered. There's like an attempted assault of a woman and a young girl, and I wasn't prepared for that. And this is back in my young, naive days, and that really bothered me and kind of traumatized me away from the movie for a while.
I think that's Alex Garland because it's the same guy who wrote and directed Civil War from last year. Was it last year or the year before?
Yeah,
and that had some uncomfortable, violent undertones to it as well.
So I did recently rewatch it, and it was an easier watch now at my age. Totally forgot that like the opening for Cillian Murphy, he is completely nude. And I'm like, wow, that man went on to do so much and like win an Oscar. He won an Oscar for
Oppenheimer.
Yeah. So like he went on to do all of that, and he's really viewed as like this prestigious man, but he's such an annoying brat in this film. Like, he's really an annoying brat.
Well, he's just a bicycle courier who happened to be in the right place when the outbreak happens to avoid it. What I found interesting is you go back and rewatch it, because I also just watched it a couple days ago. Even though I don't love it, it's so influential on zombie media after that. Like, that was the first time zombies ran. And now that's much more commonplace. And you can almost like draw a straight line between the opening of 28 Days Later and The Walking Dead with Rick Grimes.
Yeah, that was such a homage.
Waking up in the hospital.
I do like that in the original film, they explain how the outbreak happened. Like, you kind of see stuff. And I feel like The Last of Us did the same thing with the TV show. It kind of had this little bit of a thing with the scientists, and you see this woman who's worried about everything. So I do like that they did that. 28 weeks later, I don't even want to say I enjoyed it more, because there's aspects of 28 Days Later that I did really like watching it as an adult. But as a younger person, I did enjoy 28 Weeks Later. And what I think is really funny is I think we're in the minority. I think a lot of people our age didn't like the second one as much. But a lot of the stars in the second one, like, went on to do so much. Like
Jeremy Renner.
Rose Byrne.
Yeah.
And there's a few more too that I'm not thinking about the top of my head, but yeah. And then even in the first one too, some of the stars went on to do really well. I can't remember who the young girl was, but it's just crazy.
Well, Naomi Harris, who
Yeah.
went on to be Moneypenny in the Daniel Craig James Bond movies. Brendan Gleeson, who didn't he get Oscar nominated for The Banshees of Inisherin?
Yeah.
So like so many people in these two movies went on to do really interesting things. And they were actually planning on doing a 28 months later. But then that got stuck in development hell, and here we are 28 years later, but not quite 28 years later.
So this movie was kind of ambiguous in the marketing at the beginning as to whether or not Cillian Murphy would be in it. So he's not in it, but he is planned to be in the subsequent films. And what I think is funny is there's a zombie that's used in the marketing who does look like an emaciated Cillian Murphy. And I think they did that on purpose to like get people going. But for me, the thing that is the most chilling about this entire film, so far the trailers gives me goosebumps because they sample this audio that is literally 100 years old called Boots. And it is a Rudyard Kipling poem. And it is a famous radio voice actor who is reciting it. And as he recites it, he progressively gets a little bit more and more crazier. So what you're actually hearing in the trailer is this like fair use recording, because it's in the public domain now, from 100 years ago, of this man just going, boots, boots, boots. And are you familiar with this poem? Yeah. So do you want to tell
it was very effectively used in the trailer. Now I'm hearing, I was reading on Deadline, and they said that the trailer is like a masterclass, but might also be accused of being a bit misleading. So I'm like, So anyway, I'm not really sure what even the premise of this movie is. Like, I know it's been 28 years since the outbreak happened. These people are on an island, so...
I'm just excited to look at Aaron Taylor Johnson.
I almost forgot he was in this.
One day Lemon and Tangerine will come back to us, but he is he was the saving grace of Craven. Like, that was a terrible movie, but he was beautiful to look at.
Chameleon was all right.
Yeah. He went on to do some cool films too, actually. But yeah, the whole trailer was really well done and really did psych people up. But now that you're saying this about kind of maybe a little bit of misdirection, I wonder if that's why some of the comments are so divided on it. And speaking of trailers, we recently reviewed Bring Her Back. If you want to look at our last videos, I did want to point out that I went back and rewatched the trailer, and it's shocking that the trailer actually does cover the majority of the film. But you don't realize that when you're watching it. And I actually it didn't spoil anything for me. But when I went back and rewatched it, I was shocked at how much it showed. Like, it showed pivotal moments. So that's wild, man.
Well, as usual, I haven't watched the trailer for this one in a little bit, so hopefully not too much has been spoiled. So we're a little bit early for this screening, but it looked like our screening is pretty well sold out. There were over 30 tickets sold the last I counted, and it is quite sweltering in this hot vehicle. So I think we're going to go into the air conditioning, get our popcorn, and we will be back in a few seconds to tell you our thoughts on 28 years later.
2 hours later. Well, this stressed me out for several reasons. One, because it's a freaking zombie apocalyptic movie. But two, we sat next to a-hole people who talked non-stop.
Actually talked, not whispered. Talked.
Like, full volume. I don't know if they were on a date or what. It was just like a couple. And they were like 5 or 6 seats down from us in the very back row. Did not shut up the entire film. And full volume. And we put up with it for an hour. And finally we moved, and thank God we did. But the first hour of the film, I was like, I'm going to zombie apocalypse somebody. Like, just like, if I could rant for 2 seconds, why go to a movie if you're going to spend the whole time on your phone? We've had that happen where I've had to say to somebody, like, go have your phone conversation out in the hallway. If you want to have a date and talk to somebody, don't go to a freaking movie, okay? I'm assuming that's what it was because it was a guy, girl, and they were chatting the whole freaking time. But like, just don't go to a movie. Don't go to a movie if you're going to do that. It sounds like common sense, but it enrages me. And like now Raina's all fired up and mad.
It's
like,
not just common sense. They have a freaking thing they play before the movie where they're like, don't be a Sally soundtrack. Well, these people were Sally freaking soundtracks.
And it didn't help that, unfortunately, something was up with our theater's sound. We were sitting in the back, and my theory is the back speakers weren't working. Because when we moved to the front, the sound was much better.
Yeah.
But it was very tinny. It sounded like the tracks were separated. Like
it was a little hard to hear the dialogue.
And they're Scottish, so it's a thick accent. And in the beginning, I was like, I need subtitles.
Yeah.
But I don't think that was the film, honestly, because once we moved, I found it very easy to follow dialogue-wise. So I just had to get this off my chest. It's like the CGI shark. I just needed to get it off my chest before I could.
Or the two straight guys that refused to sit next to each other.
I know, that was it's funny because this was mostly men at this viewing, but so the first half of the film was a bit hard for me to stay in it because of these people. And I think if they hadn't been there, I probably would have experienced like the dread of the film just a little bit more. But they kept pulling me out of it, and the sound issues kept pulling me out of it.
Yeah.
So that aside, gosh, there's a lot to unpack here.
And of course, we can't really talk about specifics without spoiling it. But yeah, as I said in the intro, I had a feeling that this was going to move back into the tone and the pacing of 28 Days Later versus Weeks, and I think it definitely did that. It's definitely a slower film. It's more philosophical than Weeks was. But at the same time, I've seen so many zombie things. There were portions of it where I was just like, show me something new. And the couple of things that they did introduce, I'm not sure that they fully explored it to the degree that I wanted to.
It does feel like they're laying the groundwork for the rest of the films that they made. So like it does feel like a good intro to a potential another 2 films. Is that how many there are? 3 in total? There's
3. They've already shot the second one. I just looked it up. They shot it back to back, and then they're going to do the third one, I guess, separately. But
probably depending on how the second one does.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm interested-ish to see where it goes, but at the same time, I'm kind of seeing why a lot of people were talking about the ending, and why the ending maybe is going to lose some people, because that was weird.
Well, first of all, you don't have to have seen the other 2 films.
No.
As long as you get the concept that there are zombies that can run, that's and maybe they're not zombies, they call it a rage virus. Like literally all you need is some kind of primer on the rage virus. It really has no connection to the other 2 films. Which is fine, because I mean the second one didn't really connect to the first one either. It's just everything's following this same kind of like The Walking Dead and all the spin-offs. Like Fear the Walking Dead, that was the prequel, right? Yeah, so like you didn't need to have watched The Walking Dead to get it. This was kind of the same thing. Literally 99% of the film, I thought it was good. It went the way I thought it was going to go. Few little surprises, but huge massive tonal shift at the ending, and that seems to be what is dividing audiences. So we can discuss it without spoiling it, because there are a lot of articles, there are a lot of comments. If you go into any article about this, even without spoiling it, you're going to see people go about the ending in the thing. But
it's weird.
It is really weird. Like, we've been in some tonal shift movies. Like Barbarian had a tonal shift, Drop had a tonal shift. This is like really, really tonal shift. It's like, imagine like watching Bring Her Back and then Austin Powers at the end of it, kind of weird, like tonal shift. I'm curious. It's a well-known actor, and it did make me kind of go, I wonder what they're doing there.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder.
See, the weird thing is, like, you were just saying that this sets up the other movies, but I feel like, okay, that's fine, but you can't have a movie just be set up for something that's going to come later. So and the way that the ending was, I was just sort of like, that kind of annoyed me. And if that is what the tone of the next one is going to be, I'm not sure that I'm super psyched to see something that could have an annoying tone to it.
It was just very weird. It kind of went zombie land. Like, remember that one with Bill Murray? Like, it kind of went zombie land for a little bit at the end there. Removing the ending from it, which you totally can, because the rest of the movie is a full, like, beginning, middle, and end in its own. Before this, it could have been an end credit scene, honestly. It could have just been an end credit scene. That piece aside, I did really enjoy it. I actually did enjoy the pacing. And it does follow a 12-year-old boy. And as a parent, I found that really stressful. And I kept expecting the worst to happen because in the first two movies, the worst does keep happening. And I mean, you do get your typical gore and like, oh no, this person's dead and this person's dying now. But it's not, the stakes didn't quite feel as high as they did in the other two movies.
And it didn't feel as bleak. Like watching 28 Days Later a couple of days ago, it was just like the mood of this is just so bleak and there's no hope and there's no joy. Like that's not, so I appreciated that this wasn't just misery all the way through. Ray Fiennes' character, I felt
good.
As soon as his character showed up, it was like a little shot of adrenaline in the arm of the movie. All of a sudden I was like, okay, I'm connecting with something here.
I feel like they could have done more with him too. He was a weird, interesting character, and what they did with him was interesting. But I was like, I want a bit more. Like, what's going on with him? Like, this is interesting. This is what I want to hear. Like, this is what I want to see.
It was so weird seeing him go from Conclave to that, though.
Yeah, I can imagine. But again, it's hard to say this without spoiling it, but there were all these little pieces that do feel like they're groundwork for the next thing. So, you know, like the zombies in this have changed a bit, and that feels like groundwork. And where this character originates from versus everything's under quarantine, like that feels like it's laying groundwork. And I didn't realize that in this film, it's still relegated to that area.
Well, that's the other thing that really confused me because, and again, I'm going to get into spoilers for 28 Weeks Later. Yeah. I don't think it's problematic to spoil something that's not this review, but if you haven't seen 28 Weeks Later and you don't want to be spoiled, this is your warning to click off the video. But at the end of 28 Weeks Later, remember they show zombies in Paris with the Eiffel Tower in the background?
Yeah, they imply.
And I feel like this almost pretended the 28 Weeks Later didn't happen. So I'm like, is this supposed to be the second entry and they're just retconning weeks? Is that where
I don't know.
Now?
Like, I'm gonna have to look it up because it definitely implies, but maybe they're just staying on that side, like that continent or something. I don't know. But it made it seem in this film that, because they keep referring to everything as like the quarantine area, and you have a general sense of where that is based on the characters, but not like 100% where it is. So like it does seem just like specifics, and there's outside characters and things to reference. And the other thing is I didn't realize that in the zombie apocalypse that everything else was still moving forward because this area was the only area impacted. So it's like the rest of the world is just like how we're doing, and then this is over there, which kind of felt like it could have been an allegory for, you know, how we kind of turned a blind eye in modern world to things going on in other countries and stuff. Like, but I don't
even... comment on isolationism as well.
Yeah. Some of the strengths, the cinematography was beautiful. The landscapes were beautiful.
I can't believe it was shot on an iPhone. Like, so like 28 Days Later was shot on like VHS or Betamax or something and had a very fuzzy, low def feel to it. This was crisp. It was clean. It had some beautiful shots, and I can't believe it was shot on an iPhone.
Yeah, it's crazy how good they can get. But now it was not just a iPhone. I saw behind the scenes, it was like a ring of iPhones.
Okay.
And so they would like pull the footage together.
Okay, because some of those shots I was like, how in the world would you do that with a cell phone?
Yeah, so in some of my mermaid videos, we'll do things where we have 3 different perspectives, and then when I'm editing it, you can do it, or I'm using a 360 camera and stuff like that. So iPhone does have some of these like panoramics and stuff. So that was really good. The cinematography.
Some of the performances. So besides Ray Fiennes, Jodie Comer was in this. I didn't recognize it was her until the end credits, and I was like, oh my god, that was Jodie Comer. And she was so good in this. Like,
you didn't realize it was her?
I didn't realize.
Right away.
I was thinking, like, who is this actress? She is amazing. Like, what she did with that character, she did a lot with a little. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The kid? Yeah, the kid was phenomenal, and I thought he might have been someone else, but actually the only other thing he's really done is he was in an episode of His Dark Materials, so, seems a little bit inexperienced in terms of film credits, but was a fantastic actor.
Well, I mean, this has been the year for, like, good child actor performances. We just talked in our Life of Chuck video about that Pajak kid
Yeah.
who played Chuck in like his middle adolescence, and this is a character about the same age. So it's like
and then
there's a bunch of kids this age that are really
right,
good.
and then the kids in Bring Her Back too, right?
Yeah.
So also I think kids have more access to kind of this stuff because of things like TikTok, and like it's really encouraging them to play around and act and play pretend and stuff, because you kind of get like, I don't know, it's been normalized a little bit more, right?
So it's not just all about dancing in the manosphere and radicalizing our young boys.
Right. But like back in our day, you had the theater kids, right? And so it was kind of rare for somebody to jump through all the hoops. But now we have kids coming out of the woodwork everywhere who are great actors. And I think it's just a bit more normalized. But so yeah, the acting was great. The cinematography was really good. The settings of places, I don't know if it was green screened in or what, but like just like, you know, rolling hills, beautiful water, that kind of stuff. You know, I won't spoil the info about the skull tower, but I really liked the symbology behind it. It wasn't at all what I expected, but I really appreciated the thought that went into it and how it was kind of done throughout the film. And it wasn't what I expected, but not necessarily in a bad way. It's really just the ending that kind of made me go, what? Like, what?
I wouldn't say I found it scary, though. It was thrilling at times, but I wouldn't say that it frightened me.
No, it didn't frighten me. A couple times I jumped just because it was loud and I was stressed out and being like, okay. But no, it didn't. It didn't really scare me.
I would say Ollie in Bring Her Back was scarier than anything we just saw in that movie.
My coworker Ange and I are still afraid of Ollie. Like we think about Ollie. We have conversations about Ollie like he's a child who exists. Like we worry, like how is Ollie doing after that? After his demonic possession.
So yeah, I mean, I'll let you go first. What would you say your rating of that would be?
Okay, so ending aside, the movie for me was like an 8-ish, you know? But when you factor in the ending, it kind of brings it down to like a 7.5 to me, which is tricky because I think that I made like Dangerous Animals a 7.5 probably, also because of the ending with the CGI shark. So it's funny, like you can nail a movie and do so well, and the ending can kind of undo. And for this one, you know, the film had all these ups and downs and thrilling and heartwarming moments and thought-provoking, and then it did kind of feel like the ending cheapened that a bit for me. What about you?
So I'm down at a 6. Again, I didn't love 28 Days Later. I appreciated it for what it was. I liked Weeks because I found it entertaining and thrilling. But again, it wasn't like a deep movie by any stretch of the imagination. I guess I just expected a little bit more. I mean, the critic scores were so high for this one, but the audience score was quite low on this one. So I went in expecting this is either going to be something I'm going to completely gel with, like the critics, or I'm going to be more like the audience. And for once I'm more like the audience, I didn't love that. I liked it okay. I'm interested to see where it goes, but I'm really hoping the next one is not the tone of that ending, because that's going to get on my nerves really quickly.
The movie as a whole, I think, really plays to like family and coming of age and stuff like that. And I'm in a phase in my life where, you know, 10, 15 years ago, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's nice. But I am kind of in a phase in my life where I'm like, this pulls at my heartstrings.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Like that one scene, and I think we're probably talking about the same thing. I felt emotional. I thought that was a really well acted scene. Not going to spoil it, but you know, the movie feels like less than the sum of its parts. They're like, you take individual elements, like the cinematography, like the performances, like the music, and I appreciate aspects of all of it. But then when you put it together as a film, I'm not sure I'll ever watch that again. I might rewatch it if I feel like I need to re-familiarize myself with the story until now, but I'm like, maybe I'll just read a synopsis if I need to refresh myself on what happened in that one.
And I gotta be honest, it doesn't make me want to rush out to see the next one in the theaters, only because of that ending. I might have to kind of sit back and see what people are thinking and everything. It might be a stream one. I do think up until the ending, this was entertaining on the big screen. Like, you know, the shots are really done for the big screen, and just really sucked that we had shitty people next to us who wouldn't shut up.
Well, I mean, but again, even besides that, like, I'm one of the few people that stuck with The Walking Dead all the way to the end. So it's just like, I know zombies. I've seen this before. I've seen the post-apocalyptic thing before. And I just didn't feel like it brought enough new to the table to justify doing a sequel from the original director and the original writer all these years later. Like,
well, one of the new things just felt like a ripoff of The Last of Us to me. And it just felt like, it almost felt cheap. I was like, at first, I was like, oh my God, yeah, okay, well, this is what's going to happen here. Oh, okay, so yeah, like The Last of Us. All right.
Oh, and I know we're kind of dragging on a little bit, but I just got to mention, do you remember when Watchmen came out? And everyone was talking about Dr. Manhattan's big CGI dong flopping about. There is a lot of nudity in this film. And I found that aspect of it a little distracting. I found it hard. Like, I felt like a schoolboy, like trying to suppress giggles because there's some junk flopping around in this movie.
Every single zombie was naked, and I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. Even, like, there would presumably be, like, continually made zombies. Like, maybe, like the ones that have been around for a long time and are, like, depreciating. But, like, every single zombie was naked. It was just really, really weird. And I felt bad for those actors. I felt bad for them. I was like, I don't have a problem with nudity. I think nudity's fine. And it was just weird. Like, it was weird, and they had like perfectly placed mud and like stuff, like, so that it wasn't always gratuitous, but there was a lot of penis in this movie. There was a lot
flipping and flopping around. Anyway, I feel like I may be sounding more negative than I'm meaning to. I still give this a 6, but again, yeah, this didn't live up to what I hoped it would be.
For me, it's better than, like, I enjoyed it a bit more than Bloodlines, because I wasn't super into that franchise.
And I loved that movie.
Yeah, right? So he loved it. It meant a lot to him, the scenes and stuff. And, like, I appreciate why it meant a lot to Drew. But I wasn't, like, to me, it was like, yeah, I mean, I'm glad we saw it together, but I could have missed it and been fine. Like, I didn't feel like I'm missing out on it. I am glad, because this has got so much attention and, you know, people are going to be talking about it, that I did go to see it. Like, I'm glad I got to see it. And it was nice also just to see the theater kind of full of people, because we don't often see it anymore like that. So.
And everyone else stayed quiet. There were 30 plus people in the movie theater, and besides those 2 people, everyone else was fine. So yeah, it got butts in seats. I don't know how many other people feel the same way that I do who walked out of that, but anyway.
Sinners to me was still better. And what's funny to me is I am seeing a lot of pinning the 2 films against each other on the internet right now, and people being like, no, they're both great films, or 28 Years is better, Sinners is better. And I'm like, there's no contest.
Sinners is in a completely different galaxy than that.
Yeah. And for me, in terms of actual horror and scariness, Bring Her Back is still the scariest movie all year. Sinners was an expertly made film, amazing. It was more than just the horror aspect, though. It had all the historical stuff and everything.
The music.
Like the music, and it was a whole piece on its own. I don't feel right pigeonholing it into just horror, because it wasn't scary. Like, it was good. But Bring Her Back
is the horror film of the year for
later,
me so far,
I'm freaking scared. Like, I think, like I said, we think about Ollie. So anyway, I got to take a little break from going to films. Maybe Drew will see some without me, but I've got to take about a 2-week break because I got to do mermaid stuff and traveling for a little bit. But then we'll be back post Canada Day, hopefully we want to see Jurassic Park. We want to see Fantastic Four.
Megan 2.
We want to see Megan 2.0. There's lots more coming out that we want to see. What was the one with the kids?
Weapons.
Yeah. I want to see Weapons. I'm very curious about that
I feel like there won't be as many flopping penises in Megan 2.0. So I'm looking forward to that.
I would have thought you'd like flopping penises, Drew.
Anyway, we'll see you after our little break. And if you like this, please like, share, and subscribe. And we will be back with some more reviews once life gives us the opportunity
once things calm down. Yes, please leave us a comment. Let us know what your thoughts are on this film. Not getting as many comments these days, and we really do love hearing from you, because it sort of informs our choices that we're making when we do these reviews, what people might like, the kind of things you want to hear us talk about, that kind of thing. So anyway, thank you so much, and we'll see you at the movies.
We'll see you soon.